So here I have RonJeffries and ChetHendrickson, who are here in Portland keynoting at the Pacific Northwest Quality Conference. And we snagged them and brought them over here to the AboutUs office for lunch, and I had some great conversation, and I want to share some of that. And I think what I found most interesting in our conversation is the interest that you show. You say you've been working on technical debt, and especially understanding technical debt. And I know Chet had mentioned something about how we even talk about debt.
The big issue, an issue that I see as far as talking about software design and whether or not it has debt or not, is just our lack of a good vocabulary to be able to talk about one implementation or the same problem, or even multiple projects and multiple implementations of different sorts of software. We're still lacking the ability to talk about how something is implemented in a fairly abstract way.
I think probably our main desire as craftspeople is to figure out some reason why we can say technical debt is bad. You should never take it on. You should always work as close to high quality as you could possibly attain, and that would somehow be best.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know that it's best.
So is that a speculation you're saying?
It's a speculation, it's a desire. We would like it to be the case that the best way to do software is to always work at the peak of quality.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's true, we don't know.
And you know, it's the same sort of thing we talk about with test automation. You say that you should automate all your tests. And by saying that, we're merely hoping that people will automate enough of them that they actually get benefit out of it. But if we went out and said, well, you should automate most of your tests, people would then automate 30% of their tests, and they wouldn't get any value out of it.
So I remember, this red-green refactor. Mm-hmm. You know, the fact that it ended with refactor, yes, I think has a lot, yes, to do with that. And I have to admit that, I've done plenty of, red, refactor, green, and then go on about my business. I mean, I'll refactor if I have to get boxed into a corner and I can't make progress. But then when it's green, it's sometimes hard to
It's sometimes hard to have the discipline to go back in and rework the stuff that's already working. But it's like any sort of communication, that it's that extra pass through. Mm-hmm. We learned years ago that you find the code that you're most proud of and you throw that bit away and rewrite it.
Yeah.
In the same sort of way that an author finds his favorite sentence in a work, and that's the first thing you edit out. You have to.
Oh, is that right? Get rid of the favorites.
You have to kill your children.
Kill your babies.
Kill your babies.
But I think I certainly have the same experience that when I'm working forward, going red, green, red, green, red, green is what I want to do. And so I find myself going several steps forward, and then finally the code is bad enough that it flashes it to me that this code has to really be fixed. And so when I do a demo or something like that, as I did recently for some students, it's very hard for me to actually do it exactly the way we were taught. Because you're always tuning the way you work to your own pace, and it's difficult somehow to model the behavior you're really trying to get people to work.
But our experience has been that by the time you start to notice that the code needs to be cleaned up, you've already lost a lot of time because of it, and it's almost impossible to ever get back to where you were to start with. We actually believe that you can never be as clean by coming back in a month or a week later cleaning up than you could if you just cleaned up as you went. And so
because what you need to do is close at hand.
That's right.
When you've just done it.
Right. And then by the time you get to notice that you've gone beyond where you need to be as far as keeping things clean, you just never get back.
So we talked about the vocabulary of wine, and
mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned the vocabulary of stereo.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know many stereo words other than like monophonic, but
I can quote you some places that they talk about it.
Okay, and I think you pointed out that most of those words are about senses.
Yes.
And so say a few words about that.
Well, it seems to me that the things we know how to describe in a way that communicate among people are common experiences that you can share in the moment. That if you say this wine tastes like blackberries and I don't ever remember thinking blackberries before, we can share a glass of wine and you can say, Now try to taste the blackberries and they can do it. We don't have that same mechanism in software, maybe partly just because we don't have a way of sharing software in the moment.
Yes.
But I think also because the things we don't like about software are more in our head and not so much in our tongue.
But you have to have things that are a shared experience. And we can talk about blackberries or...
If you debug blackberries together at some time
and we
in
know
your
what
career.
blackberries taste like.
Yeah.
You know, whether it is we actually know what blackberries taste like and we can taste it in the wine, or we have worked together in code and we agree that this is what a blackberry is within the code, then we have that shared experience. That's why you can't say that this wine tastes like the 1986 Pinot Noir from so-and-so if we haven't had that. So it's important to find things that people can relate to and have actually seen. So I think one of the problems with coming up with the common vocabulary is having the common experience. And it may be that college curricula need to start talking about that and say, here's what bad code looks like, and here's how we're going to talk about it. And since Ron is now closely associated with the University of Nebraska's program, he might be able to start influencing.
It might be where you would do that. I was thinking that there is a kind of an optimistic possibility. We have some shared vocabulary around patterns. We have some shared vocabulary around refactorings. I wonder if it wouldn't be possible to just say, okay, people, here is the code that has the BlackBerry scent. And begin
to catalog
it and publish it and make it known. I mean, one of the things that we've done so much in Agile is we just keep saying the words and saying what they mean and re-expressing them. It might be possible to synthesize the vocabulary by example that everybody would begin to pick up.
Do I get the whiff of a book?
You never know.
You never know.
I'm 2 books behind on the stuff I'm trying to write right now. But as we were sitting around the table, I just had this notion. I bet that I could begin to explain that. I bet I could begin to make headway against that. And we've made headway against other things, and then people better than us have picked up the ball and gone forward with it. So, maybe it's possible.
Well, we can only hope, and you keep your eyes out for something coming from these guys soon.
Maybe just an article on our website.
So thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be here, Ward.
It was good fun.